Hello everyone and welcome to Module 3. This week we are focusing on ears, or the other term you'll hear is otology. So for this week we only have one chapter to read, and that's going to be chapter 39, pages 895 to 902. So let's go ahead and get started and talk about that section here so you guys can get a better understanding of what this unit is about. So chapter 39 starts talking about the study of hearing, which is also known as otology. This is where your providers working and specializing with the ear, and they are called otologists or otorhinolaryngologists, or ear, nose, and throat doctors. The ear is an organ of hearing and balance. Most parts of the ear are internal and are protected by your temporal bone and the skull. The instrument that we use for the ears is called an otoscope. We can also use a tuning fork or an odometer. An otoscope is a lighted instrument used to examine the tympanic membrane of the inner ear. A tuning fork is a metal fork-shaped instrument that produces a vibration when it's struck. We use this when we're looking at and holding it near the patient's ear to see if they can hear. It gives us a rough hearing assessment, seeing if they can kind of hear that vibration tone that comes from the fork. An odometer is an electric instrument that measures more frequency, or the number of fluctuations per second of energy in the form of sound waves. When the patient indicates their ability to hear a sound, a recording is made on an audiogram. We use the tuning fork during what we call a Weber's test. We can also use a tympanometer, which is a device that is snugly placed inside the patient's ear to determine any middle ear problems. So now that we understand how to test hearing, there are a few more items that medical assistants are responsible for. We're also responsible for ear irrigations and ear installations. So when you're documenting for either of these items, you will use certain abbreviations. For example, you will use AD when you're referring to the right ear, AS when referring to the left ear, and AU when referring to both ears. Another term that you need to know is the term otic. Otic is what you will see on certain medications, and that means that it is strictly for the ears. There are some medications that can be for both your ears and your eyes, but the only one that is responsible for ear medications is going to be the term otic. Ophthalmic can be used for either eyes or ears. Now, when we're talking about ear irrigations, this is necessary to remove any impacted earwax or foreign objects that should not be in the patient's body. You'll want to use warm water with a syringe to insert into the patient's ear. You will need to have access to the patient's ear canal. So in order to do this, we'll have to pull on the ear itself. For children who are 3 and under, you'll want to pull their earlobe down into the back. And for adults who are 3 and older, you'll want to take that earlobe and pull it up into the back. You should also use your otoscope to examine the ear prior to doing the ear irrigation and after the ear irrigation. You'll want to do this to make sure that you've removed all of the earwax, or and see if you can actually visualize the eardrum itself, or that tympanic membrane. When you're doing ear installations, this is where we put medication into the patient's ear, or we instruct them how to do this on their own when they're at home. You'll have the patient lay back or tilt their head away from the affected ear. So you'll always want whatever ear is affected to be up towards the top of their body. So you can see here in this picture, this patient's left ear is the one that is actually getting the eardrops put in. Again, you'll want to make sure that you can access the ear canal. So you'll have to pull the earlobe in order to assess that again. Again, if they are 3 and younger, you'll pull the earlobe down into the back. If they are 3 and older, you'll pull the earlobe up into the back. You want to avoid actually touching the dropper to the patient's ear canal, and you want to place the appropriate number of drops as prescribed by the provider. After you've placed the drops in the affected ear, you'll want to actually rub the outside of the ear to make sure that the medicine gets completely mixed in and reaches the full ear canal as it should. When this is done, you'll want the patient to stay with their head tilted for about 3 to 5 minutes. If that is not done, that medication can come right back out of the ear and loses its effect of making sure that we've cleared up any maybe ear infection or anything else that may be going on in that situation. All right, so that's the brief overview that I have for all of you on Chapter 39. As always, please make sure you're still reading your pages in total, as this will help you with your discussion board, quiz, and your lab class for the week. So this week, you will have one discussion board again. Your discussion board this week is focusing on hearing impairments. You will need to discuss whether people with hearing impairments can compete and work in technical or scientific fields. You will need to explain why they can or cannot. You will also need to explain some of the challenges people with hearing impairments may face and what are some of the resources that can help them if they are needed. That initial discussion post will be due no later than Tuesday, July 18th by midnight, and you'll need to reply to at least one classmate no later than Saturday, July 22nd by midnight. You will have one quiz this week again, but this week your quiz is going to be over chapters 2 and 3, so it's going to look at eyes and ears. It is a 10-question multiple choice quiz, and you will have a 10-minute time limit. This quiz is online, so that means that it will be due Sunday, July 23rd by midnight. As always, guys, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please make sure that you are reaching out to me, and that could be either via course messaging in Blackboard or my direct line at the Rockford campus, which you can find on your course homepage in the top right by my picture that you will see there. Please make sure that if you do have any questions, you're reaching out to me right away. And I typically respond within 24 to 48 hours to make sure that I give you ample time to work on whatever the question was. All right, guys, I hope you have a great week 3, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.